Okay, so Tim's going to kick it off talking about the communication support for the Independence Parade and Monument, and then he'll hand it off to Lisa, talk about CERT, and then she'll hand it off to Hunter to talk about Special Communications Unit, and I guess the parade stuff as well, right? Some more of that. So with that, you're on, Tim.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Back July 4th weekend, most of you live hopefully close by and realize that Monument had a parade, which got canceled last year. So they've done this a number of times in the years past. The parade is actually hosted and run by the Monument Hill Kiwanis Club. Turns out that the gentleman who lives behind me is the president of that club, so I was just talking to him, asked if he needed some help, and he said, yeah, as a matter of fact, we need your help. So that's where I put out the call to the club, and a bunch of you, a number of you, had about 13 that helped us on the day of, so that was Saturday, right? So Monument had their parade on Saturday the 3rd, and then Palmer Lake did their celebration on Sunday the 4th. So just real briefly, we have the parade is broken up into two sections, and the two phases, if you will. The first phase is the staging, where the Kiwanis folks take all the applicants and people that want to be in the parade, and they make a list and they organize them and group them, and however they do that, that secret sauce that they do, and they give us a list of where each of those participants is going to line up. And so from there, we line up on Old Denver Road, starting a little bit north of Baptist Road, pretty much at the ice arena, the ice rink over on Old Denver Road. And from there, they have signs on the side of the road. If your number is, and they give each participant a number, they're supposed to have a little tag in the dash of their car that says what their staging order is. And then a bunch of us were stationed at a bunch of those stations. So about every 10 or 20 numbers, we would have one of us so that we could help the Kiwanis people communicate, because they would call and say, hey, vehicle number 69 is coming, and we would have to figure out where that person goes, and it might be a truck with a trailer, and might be this or that, and so we had to kind of help stage them and get them parked in the right position. And that way, once the parade started, everybody just kind of moved like a herd of turtles down Old Denver Road and took a left turn and went and made the big loop around downtown Monument. So once we got everybody staged, then everybody kind of changed hats, and we switched over to our position on the parade route. So then we had a location. Everybody was pre-assigned as to where they were going to be. A lot of you know Chip Fleming. Chip's done this a number of times, and they really wanted Chip at the start line. So okay, great. Chip agreed to help us. So Chip was there. We had Larry, and Larry he's done this before, so we put Larry at the announcer stand because he's done that before. So in case there's an event or something happened and we had to get some information out, that worked out well. And then we had 9 other stations around the course, just so we could kind of keep an eye on what was happening. I think the biggest, most exciting thing happened for me is before the parade started, a bunch of horses went by, and you know what horses do, and a lot of people were concerned the kids were going to be walking through the horse debris. So we ended up getting that cleaned up, and that was handled that. But anyway, just another set of eyes at about every block along the parade route, and it was really a lot of fun. So we ran 2 different nets, right? So we had one for the staging. So we had Mark Slavanik is actually a member of our club here, but he's also a Kiwanis member. So he had actually 1 foot in each camp. He'd done this before, so he knew what was happening. And so he ran our net down at the ice rink for the staging that we were all talking to. And then when we switched, I ran the net for the actual parade from downtown Monument. So we actually swapped around and had a good time. So everybody had some role in the parade, and we got to sit back and watch, and most of us had a pretty good vantage point. So we got to watch the whole deal. Once the parade was over, then everybody kind of disbands and goes on their own way. So kind of one of the things that I wanted to say is talk a little bit about what Bob mentioned a minute ago during the business meeting about running the net, being a net control operator for our weekly net. And that helps just so you can kind of get the cadence down and writing down call signs and keeping track of what people are, what they're doing and what they're saying, and if they have an announcement and stuff like that. And a bunch of you have done that, and we thank you very much for that. And that helps when we do events like this, because you may be tasked with running one of these nets if you feel comfortable doing that, and just kind of keeping track of where everybody's going, if somebody has problems and what help they need, and in which case we say, oh, well, that's great, we need help over there, but we can't do that. All we're really doing is communicating. So then what we end up doing is calling CERT, and the CERT team may help with that, or they may communicate with the Special Communications Unit, and they may dispatch somebody. We need a police officer, we need an ambulance, we need this, or we need that. We can't do that, but what we're really doing is communicating for the Kiwanis folks. So that's where it was a team effort. So coming into next year, we hope that more folks will sign up and help. We had 13, which turned out to be the perfect minimum number. We could have used a couple more, but 13 worked out at the last minute. We got all the right number of people. So it worked out. It was a lot of fun, and I got some really good feedback from everybody. So thanks very much if you were one of those that participated and helped us. So with that, I'll turn it over to
Resolve 2-meter simplex,
Yes.
any coverage problems at all?
Yes. Yeah, right where Old Denver Road kind of takes a dip, and then where the staging takes a left, I forget the name of that road, Santa Fe? Santa Fe, there was a bit of a coverage problem. Larry and I were up in the first 10 and 20, 30 vehicles, and we had a hard time getting back to the ice rink. So in years coming, we may, stick a crossband repeat or something in that area to be able to cover that. Downtown, it would be great if we could get a repeater up on top of the Big Red, the school, which is right over here, just so we have a little bit better coverage. We had a couple of people that had some coverage problems, and they had to walk a little bit from their station to be able to be heard by everybody else. So there was a little bit of challenge with that, and I think I was sitting in a different spot than you normally are, but I think generally everybody kind of heard everybody else. So it was 2-meter simplex. So really, all you need is an HT, 4 or 5 watts is fine, and be able to just program in a simplex frequency, and it's pretty simple. Any questions before we move on?
Do you use a net controller, or is it just free for all?
We did do net control. On the staging, it helped a lot to do that, just because of all the vehicles that were pulling up. And to me, I think it would be great if we could tell the vehicles, hey, if your vehicle number 1 through 30 show up at this time slot, if you're 31 through 50 show up this time slot, but it doesn't work like that. They just show up whenever. And so you got, in trying to turn a vehicle with a trailer around if they went too far is a problem. So having somebody keep track of where they are before they overshoot their position is much, really helpful. So, yeah. Any other questions?
Tim, what about employing our club base station as your net control facility? It's got, a 15, 20-foot antenna mast with a 2-meter, 70-centimeter antenna. So if you put that up, I bet you it would cure your coverage problem.
Yeah, could be. And then we would do that twice. Either move it, which is kind of problematic because we were actually running both nets simultaneously. Because we weren't done with the staging, but I wanted to get over to the downtown area just, because everybody was starting to, as their area got full in the staging, there was no reason for them to be there anymore. So then they migrated to the downtown area. So
Well, at least it would cover one of your nets.
correct, and we could do that again. I have an extendable mast, and I have a portable system, so I could probably do that. I just needed to. Now I know where the low areas are, and we could do that. So, any other questions? Lisa, you want to talk about certain?
Hi. So I got my license in 1990 originally, and that's why my call sign was KBHL. I was in Ohio, and Joyce is the one who got me back to get my call sign back. So that explains that, in case you were curious. So, Community Emergency Response Team, we are a sister organization with the Special Communications Unit, and we're all volunteers under the Office of Emergency Management, which is now called the Pikes Peak Regional Office of Emergency Management. It merged, El Paso County Office of Emergency Management merged with the city of Colorado Springs, which was a really big deal. So, hi Ed. And Robin Adair is the cat herder for us. So the purpose of CERT is to try and get more people in the community to be prepared to do something for themselves when 911 isn't coming. It might be days, it might be weeks. We might have to shelter at home for 2 weeks. Can you imagine that? We actually teach that in our class. Do you have enough supplies at home that you could stay in your house for 2 weeks? Why would we ever need to do that? I don't know. We do, so we have free training through the Office of Emergency Management, and if you get interested in it, you can also become an instructor, and that's something, I am now an instructor, and who would have ever thought that would be true 20 years ago? So some people just take the class, and that's great. You take 24 hours of training over three nights and a whole Saturday. We'll send you home every night with a list of things, a list of homework to check. Do you have this ready at your house? Do you have this? Have you thought about this? Have you talked to your family about this? And if they never do anything else but just take the class, that's great, because now they're thinking about a whole bunch of what ifs that they hadn't gotten to before. And it's all the kinds of things that you never want to actually need to use any of this. I'm hoping everything we teach is totally useless, but unfortunately, emergencies and disasters really do happen, and it's nice to be prepared. So I used to, when I was little, I watched Mr. Rogers. Remember what he used to say? Watch for the helpers. If you're scared, I was 5 years old watching Vietnam War on TV. Watch for the helpers. And now I get to be a helper, so I feel very good about that, instead of burying my head in the sand. But anyway, so some of the stuff we cover in the basic class is a basic first aid, bleeding control. There's financial emergency preparedness. Do you have all your documents and numbers in a place where you can find them when you can't get to your house because it's burned down? There's psychological first aid, which I'm teaching. Let's see. There's we try and get people to, once they get their own act kind of together, then we want you to start talking to your neighbors. So it's not exactly a neighborhood watch thing, but it's what other resources do we have in our neighborhood if we all were trapped here and we needed to help each other? What skills do we have here? It's a lot about communication. Do you even know your names of your neighbors? And we encourage ham radio operators to, there's a, well, you'll talk about this, I hope maybe, but there's a map where you can register just that I have a radio and I could help if you really need me to. So beyond that though, if you want to become a member of the CERT team and become an instructor or work at community events like tonight or the Black Forest Festival, or next week I'm going to go have a booth at a functional access and functional needs disabilities open house about what kinds of things do you need to think about. I've given a presentation called Emergency Preparedness for Seniors and Their Caregivers, just trying to help you. There's we got some shorter lists of ways to be prepared. We've done emergency activations such as helping with the Deanna Stout search and rescue. The CERT team was helping check in the resources who were then going out and doing the search and rescue. To be part of the team, they want you to take some training, including take the basic CERT class, and then ICS 100 and 700, and do a background check and a series of other things to just get checked out, make sure you are a good team player, because that's, this is the kind of team where you really need to be able to trust each other. Never know where we are. Let's see. So one of the events that we have coming up soon is in northwestern El Paso County, Colorado State's Palmer Lake area. October 2nd is an evacuation drill. And if you're in the neighborhoods that are going to be participating, you should know about it already. And what we're going to help, the CERT is going to set up there's going to be a safety fair where we have handouts explaining some of these things you could take home and think about getting ready in certain ways, and explaining how after a neighborhood burns down, for example, they're going to lock it down and you won't be able to get back in unless you have a credential, and the CERT team helps let people back in so that it's a controlled access. We help them get their credentials. emergency did that. So one of when we helped with the 4th of July, our job as CERT team members was, we carried little family radios, and with those, we did parade surveillance. We walked up and down the parade route, we waved at all the Columbus folks that were there. It was neat this year because everybody's starting to realize how we can help each other and why we're there, what we're even doing there. But we were watching for lost children, lost parents, lost grandmas. We had some of all of those. The grandma was the most interesting one. She got lost twice. On purpose. We had mapped, the Kiwanis had those nice maps printed of where everything was, and we had those to hand out, and we just looked official enough that people asked us for directions, and we had them. We had the information, and but if we needed more help, then we used those family radios to communicate, well, with each other, like, you know, are we going to switch stations now? But then we could also communicate with the SCU to call in the big guns. And so this year we didn't have to do that, but the Office of Emergency Management does not take that parade lightly. That was one of the biggest parades in the whole state. It's such a terrorist, potential threat. Everybody goes and has fun, but we're all out of duty, you know. And a couple years ago, there was an unattended bag that a civilian did come and report it to us. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. Good job. And they're reporting it to me. Oh, now what do I do? But it was really fun because people during the parade actually gave us water, came up and said, thank you for your service to our country. I've never had that said to me before, so that was, I was like, ooh. But it was nice because people appreciated that we were out there watching out for them. We asked, please don't let your kids sit up there. It's a busy day. Please have them sit down, stuff like that. But luckily there was not anything more serious than that. But if there were something more serious than that, then we could call the Special Communications Unit, and that's what Hunter's going to talk about. What you would do then if we called you and said, okay.
Well, good evening. My name's Hunter. Part of the Pikes Peak Regional Office of Emergency Management, SEU. Been a member for about 6-7 years now, I think. We've done this event multiple times over the last 5-10 years. This was actually my 3rd time doing it. So, just real quick overview. What we're going to just cover is basically our mission statement, what we actually do as an organization. Some of our amateur stuff that we have on board on our vehicle in our room, and then the parade support, and then obviously our contact information. If anything I say perks your interest, we're always looking for new members, or even to come check out anything. So, okay, so our mission statement for the Pikes Peak Regional Office of Emergency Management, wow, that is going to be long. I'm going to start calling it EOC. Is to provide supplemental communications for the county, anywhere from local, regional, natural emergencies. We also support public safety events as well as public service events. The public service events are basically on the amateur side, but we also do support other served agencies within the county on a regular basis. So basically how it works is if there is a served agency that we are serving, but we also have amateurs involved, the amateurs will actually communicate with us. Then we'll actually communicate if the EOC is standing up. If not, it's going to be the served agency that we're communicating with. If the state EOC stands up, what we'll usually do is send WinLink messages to the state, give them a phone call, or even on the 800 trunking system. And then obviously if FEMA stands up, then we have to coordinate with them. Okay, so basically we were actually asked by the CERT team, Robin O'Dare, at the EOC, to provide enhanced communications between the amateurs of the parade group, your guys, as well as the CERT members. Our resources that we brought with us was actually our vehicle, and I have a picture of that here in a moment. But 4 or 5 volunteer staff that we also had. We have a portable repeater inside that vehicle. That's our public safety frequency. So basically what we did was we set up 2 stations inside our vehicle to listen to both of your guys' nets. Then with the Motorola HGs that we passed out to the CERT members, then we were able to communicate with them. We're the point of contact for law enforcement as well as fire or medic. So we also ran public safety radios to be able to communicate with them as well. We did have safety like, I almost called you Robin, I'm sorry.
Wow.
No, Lisa was talking about, we did have the 7 teams, 2 people per team, so we have about 14 volunteers walking around with the CERT throughout the whole entire parade route. We had a mobile command center set up, as well as lost parade attendees, which is always fun. This is what we made sure, try to reunite, and if we couldn't reunite them within 5 minutes or so, then that's when we would get on the radio or call command for the law enforcement to be able to get it out to their guys. And this is just a couple of pictures of the CERT team. That's part of our vehicle right there, but that was our morning briefing. Then also with the Kiwanis, but we also did have a lost and child station in case anyone got lost. And we actually, I believe, had a parent come there this year, so that was lost from their kids. This is actually one of our repeaters, or the repeater that we have up on top of Cheyenne Mountain. It's 14676. The primary purpose of our repeater, though, is we do have a weekly net, but to provide calls for the county. If the county gets stood up in any way and the EOC is activated, we ask that any amateurs are welcome to hop on and give us their insight and spotter information. It doesn't matter if it's weather, it could be fire. We also supported a couple of those different events, and I'll get to that here in a minute. But that's just some of the hardware that we do have up there. And we do cover majority of El Paso County. And limited teller, it's really iffy. Going through the canyon, you're really not going to get any kind of coverage up there. But to the county line, on county line, we do get a little bit of coverage as well. Like I said, our primary purpose is to support any emergency event. We do have a direct bridge between the ECC. So basically, our room is right here. If you walk around the corner outside the room, it's actually going to be the EOC for the county. For the city and the state, city and county. We have 3 amateur stations on the right-hand side. We have public safety in the very front of this picture, and then on the back side, we also have more amateur. So what we try to do is listen to the 9-7 or 345 or connection, depending on where the event is, to try to give the proper authorities real-time data on exactly what is going on. A couple of the events that we've been involved with, obviously the bomb cyclone. Hopefully none of you guys got stuck in it. I actually did. I'm trying to get there. But we did the bomb cyclone. The next week afterwards, we actually stood it up because we thought it might be another bomb cyclone that came in. But it was just a blizzard that flaked out, thankfully. We've also been involved with the 117 fire. We also support search and rescue with the Marathon in a sense. So they have all of their search and rescue team members on Pikes Peak for those 2 days. Normally, Aries has members on the mountain as well. This year, it's going to be a little bit different. They're not going to have amateurs on the mountain. But basically, we would get any kind of reports of any injured runners, dehydration, medical stuff that we would get the information for. then we would relay that over to the search and rescue teams. And this is just some of the hardware that we do have in the building, in our room. We do have 2 set up for WinLink. This is our roof with all the antennas on top of it. So basically, we have HF, single sideband, digital messaging. We mainly use WinLink on a lot of our stuff, but we also have the FM WinLink as well. And then that's our vehicle right there. If you were at the event for the 4th of July, you might have seen us. Basically, if we have to deploy, we'll get that out and deploy it to wherever the county might need us. We've been deployed mainly for search and rescue, but also for the fires, as well as even warming shelters for utilities on gas leaks. We do have the capability of talking to public safety. So we have the 800 meg trunking system in our vehicle. We also have our own repeater in there that's on a public safety VHF, as well as the capabilities of the digital TNC. So we can send WinLink messages back to the radio room to give them real-time data as well in the EOC. It really depends on where we get deployed on our coverage. But the cool thing about our vehicle is that we are all self-contained, or we can actually, we have an onboard generator where we can also hook up to shore power, meaning hook up to other utilities at a different building if we are there for a long time. We have the HF, UHF, VHF, but we also have cellular, Wi-Fi connection. We also have printer capabilities in the vehicle as well. And then just our contact information. But I do want to say thank you for inviting us out here. It's a great honor, plus being part of the group on the 4th of July. The 4th of July was interesting. We had some of our own technical issues that we had to work out. But the fun thing about it is the collaboration between public safety, amateur groups like you guys, and there was really no missing kids. There was a lot of missing parents, though, and grandmothers. But I think what was really cool and interesting about that day to begin with is right when the parade started, you guys gave us a call for a medical emergency. And we hopped right over it, tried to get it done. By the time we actually got there, EMS was already taking care of it. So, but that was the only major thing other than a dog bite and, like I said, missing kids. So, you guys have any questions for me? I know it's, yes, sir.
We have a vet standing by.
A vet?
About 5 years ago, during the parade, that horse got.
We didn't.
So we always wanted to get available or something like that. It's just a horse fell right in the parade.
Oh.
I was able to get back up again, but the horse hurt.
That's interesting. Yeah, no, we didn't have, I didn't even know about that, but.
Would be a function under CERT.
Mhm.
CERT has large animal, small animal training. That's part of the county EOC system as well. And we don't, SCU doesn't do that.
I know I covered it pretty quick, guys, but if you have any questions, yes, sir.
Yeah, let's take questions. So what if somebody wants to be involved with SCU? What do they do? What are the requirements, expectations? Maybe give us a little.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I have a couple of brochures with the contact information. Basically, we have a point of contact at the EOC, Bart Evans. His email's up there, but it's also in there, I believe. You have to have ICS 100, 200, 700, and then also 800. After that, we actually will get you registered with what's called Colorado Volunteer Mobilizer. and that's up in Denver, and I believe she's part of Homeland Security. And then once that background comes back, then there is a probationary period, I believe, of about 6 months. Then at that point, once your probationary period is over, meaning that show up to meetings, show up to trainings, just the willingness to learn is a major one. And then after that, then you would be a full-fledged member.
You have to be 18 years of age. Now, there may be some people, are there anyone here who's not 18 years of age? I don't think so.
Other than the spectrum. No.
Actually, you do not have to be a radio amateur, because you can operate public safety radios without being a radio amateur.
Questions for any of these folks?
What's a typical time commitment for somebody who wanted to do this?
That is a good question, Ed. It all depends. I mean, we have some guys that just check into the weekly nets, show up to the meetings. There's other guys that show up on a Wednesday morning to do technical stuff with the vehicle, with the room. There's other guys like me, show up, try not to embarrass myself too much talking. So it all really depends, but we can use anyone and everyone. To actually drive the vehicle, there's a handful of us that are actually signed off to do so, but we're getting more and more people involved in that way. So it's whatever you want to be able to bring to the table.
And one nice thing about the way Robin Adair has it set up is both for CERT and SCU, she uses a system called Track It Forward, where she plugs in all the events that are coming up and how many people she needs for them at those events. And you can look at your own calendar and say, oh, that would work. And you just plug it in your calendar that way. And then when it comes time, it'll send you a reminder. And so you really just pick what'll fit with your schedule.
It's basically pick with your schedule, but we're also planning on bringing up the vehicle to the evacuation drill as well. For touch the truck, and you guys can actually take a look at it if you guys are up there, things like that, so.
I just found out that Hal is planning on signing up for the CERT class coming up this fall. There's a lot of stuff coming up that you can do. Isn't it funny how you have to guard your schedule now? Which do I really have time for?
When is the next CERT class?
Yeah. It's either, I think, yeah, October, middle of October. Yeah. Our website is epccert.org, and it has all the information that you would need to find out about upcoming classes or to see what our mission statement is, or how to just find out anything about it. We also, for the CERT class, we are offering now both in-person classes, and we did steal the online class from Utah. Utah already had put together a hybrid class years ago where you could take all the training via online training, and then come in for hands-on training, hands-on skills testing to see if you really know how to tie a bandage and really do how to use a fire extinguisher and the real practice the real skills before you get your certificate.
So the next CERT meeting is August 26th. And then we also have one coming up this Thursday for the SEU on Mark Dabbling Boulevard. If you guys are interested in taking a look and seeing if it's the right fit for you guys, or if you're just interested with more information, it would be a great opportunity.
When was that meeting? Thursday?
Thursday,
7 p.m.
7 p.m. at the EOC. It's over off of Mark Dabbling. I believe it's,
3755. Mark Dabbling.
there you go.
It's across from the soccer fields on Mark Dabbling.
I have one more thing I forgot to mention, and I'll just here really quickly. One of my big obsessions is the wildfire preparedness. And so Robin has let me add a section of that to the CERT class. And in our church has developed its own, like outreach program. So if you have a neighborhood group that wants to hear about how to do wildfire risk reduction around your houses and how to do that as an individual homeowner and as a neighborhood, Joyce's neighborhood, Bob's neighborhood, has taken our training on how to do that. That's a whole nother, I could talk 3 hours about that, but, and I wrote because it's hard to get people to show up to a PowerPoint presentation about wildfires, I wrote a novel about it too, so if you're interested in that, I brought my bookmarks, the novel's coming out in October.
All right.
And, oh yeah,
Yeah.
we have cool magnetic clips for your refrigerator,
Hopefully that's running out.
and I think you can just.
Is anyone interested in the SEU or what we do? I do have a couple of flyers.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you all very much. Thanks to Lisa for the snacks. Thanks to Lisa for the snacks. Unless anybody has anything else, I think we're done. You're welcome to hang around and chat and learn some more stuff. Yeah.